So if you get a person who's changed their reputation, changed their power, and become heartbroken, I suggest they're probably out of play. That person is no longer a functioning, being.
Interesting.
And also, you can just die. Nothing stops the demon from, burning you into a cinder too. Then when you pick somebody to play that hasn't been played before, they're new to the situation. They don't know the other characters. They just have the dream, this new dream for the new vision for the first time. And meanwhile, the Armageddon clock may well be advancing. So that's kind of my idea. I think that's pretty much all of it at the moment. Oh, we forgot social. Oh, God, we forgot social rank. That's terrible. This is actually really important. We need to look at social rank for each of you. It's huge. And it's going to really round out your characters. We should have done it before you chose your thing. All right. Is anybody here wealthy? Just Ibars, right? No, Rod. Right. So Rod, you're wealthy. You have the option to make your character elite. You don't have to. You can be wealthy and not be elite, but only the wealthy can be elite.
Right.
And wealthy simply means that you are not owing anybody anything, you're not owed anything, and the mechanisms of commerce and daily life just give you what you have just through long-standing power structure. That's what wealthy is. Elite means that, well, wait, do I have back up? No, wealthy just means lots of money. What I just described was elite.
Okay, I see.
Many wealthy people have to manage their money, have to care about it, fear losing it. The elite don't even know what you're talking about.
Right. That's interesting.
Right.
Okay.
So that's you have the option to be elite. Now, if anybody's idealistic, is either of you? Yeah, you're idealistic. Both of you? Okay. You two cannot be debt holders. People who own the debts of others. That's the next rank down. Are people who manage other people's debts. Other people's they're people who represent a great deal of wealth because other people owe lots of it.
Okay.
So you cannot be in that role. Rod, you have the option to be in that role. Are you wealthy and idealistic, or wealthy and what was it, Rod?
Wealthy, educated.
Educated. Okay.
So
And interestingly enough, you cannot be a debt holder because, and I think this is very clunky, but the way I have it written right now, to be a debt holder, you can be wealthy, you can be educated, but you can't be both. So it made sense to me. I'm still not sure if it's very elegant as a rule, but it makes sense.
Okay.
So you could be wealthy, but you can't be a debt holder. So far, so good?
Yeah.
For Rod. For the two of you, you can't be wealthy, and you can't be debt holders. Sorry, you can't be elite. I keep mixing that up. You can't be elite, and you can't be debt holders. So you guys are already bumping down toward the lower parts of the social ranks. The next social rank is indebted. You owe money. You owe wealth. And you exist because you keep paying your payments. That's how that's the main role of your income, is to keep your payments going, and that's how you maintain however it is you live. You can't be indebted and be wealthy, because by definition you don't control your money. But otherwise anybody can be indebted. So you guys have the option to be indebted. And Rod does not. So Rod, so far you are able to be either but you're educated. No, so far you're elite, right?
Right.
So that's your option so far.
Right.
So far, the only option that you have is to be elite. So far, the only option that the two of you have, Ibars and Gordon, is to be indebted.
Okay.
So far, so good?
Sure.
Now for the fun one. Slave. The only requirement for slave is that they don't have formal authority.
Oh, interesting.
Hmm.
Oh, I like
They can
this.
be anything else.
Kind of end up being a
So that means Rod has the option of being a slave. And Gordon and Gordon, you have invested authority, right? And you have deep authority for Ibars, so you guys could be slaves. So all of you have the option to be slaves. Now, slaves are very interesting in this culture. They are owned but slavery is effectively considered to be a form of paying a debt. It's an extreme form of debt. And maybe someone else owed money and you were a member of the family, so you became the slave. Or maybe it was you. Your name was taken away. You're given a name by your owner. You can be sold to another owner, right, and transferred more properly, in some kind of deal. You are considered an asset. And most importantly, there is a whole set of laws that are taken very seriously that protect slaves as property. To abuse a slave is a crime. To put the slave to work in a fashion that's not part of what they're for is a crime. In other words, it's not slave in the American sense, which basically means you're a domestic animal and nobody cares what happens to you. This is a piece of the economy. Just under 50% of the people in the city are slaves. Slavery is long term, but it does have a designated ending. Sometimes it's a little bit like a life sentence sometimes. Sometimes it's like, well, in 100 years you'll stop being a slave. And everybody knows you're going to die before that. But most of the time it's not. So slavery is designated by a time period. And furthermore, if you can get enough wealth, and also a slave can be wealthy. There are slaves who are more wealthy than their owners, for example. It's just that for whatever reason, they're not able to use all that wealth to pay themselves off for some reason. But you also, if slaves have children, then they are raised in that household. And although they are considered part of the slave's family, when they reach adult age, they're free. This is actually based on Roman Republic law, which is mischaracterized in the TV shows, which focus more on gladiators and mines, and they depict household slaves in Rome very much like black slaves in the American South. But it was a very different situation. I'm not saying it was great. You have your name taken away. You don't have any choice over where to live. You don't have any choice over... You are expected to dedicate your work and your life to your owner's good. There are things you can't do. You have no freedom of movement. But you don't have to wear special clothes. This is something that's kind of also interesting. In the Roman Republic, you didn't have to look different from anybody else. Walking around in the streets of Rome, 50% of the people you meet are slaves, and you cannot tell by looking at them. So it's a completely different kind of situation. The better English translation would probably be an extreme form of indentured servitude.
Okay.
So that would be so interestingly enough, every one of your characters, because you don't have formal authority. Right, Rod? You don't have that? You have...
Right. Invested.
Yeah. So that means that all of you could be slaves if you wanted. So wealthy or slave for Rod's character, indebted or slave for the other two characters. or sorry, elite. I keep saying the wrong thing. Elite or slave for Rod's character, indebted or slave for the other two. Indebted, by the way, is the closest to modern urban life, modern professional life.
Yeah.
I figure anybody that most of us know would be in that category. The management of their income to what they owe on a weekly or monthly basis is pretty much what their money does.
I think I will be a slave.
Ah, okay. As slave underworld lord. Yeah,
Yeah,
slave underworld manipulator. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll make this guy elite, though. I think I'll
Okay.
go ahead.
Sure, I might as well just go with indebted.
Right.
The-
So as you can see, the three characters end up being really different,
Right.
right, in terms of their personal histories and what they're doing and stuff like that. And now, do you see? I think they're pretty interesting characters. So when you make your vision and see this thing that you love get destroyed and burned,
Right.
and start examining or realizing that the ancient things of the city are real and that you can use them